November 1944. World War II was still raging and Hitler was about to launch his final desperate assault, the Battle of the Bulge. Back in New Zealand, at Burnham Military Camp, another Battle of the Bulge was going on. Army nurse Irene Quaid had recently married the bold Sergeant Terry Davidson, and a successful outcome to their joint mission was eagerly awaited. It happened sooner than expected. The Paul Davidson story started here, Tara Street, Riccarton. On the 8th of November 1944, my father brought me home from Christchurch Women's Hospital. It was my sister Pat's 13th birthday, and Pat wasn't very impressed at all with the present her father had brought home. Me. Who wouldn't be excited at producing such a cute baby? My mum's first child and my dad's first son after 4 daughters. Surely enough for anyone. 3 years later, we moved to Taita, where I had a lovely pile of rocks to play on. Despite my pleas to Mum, before long I had a brother and a sister, and then another brother. We all grew up in the baby-booming Hutt Valley, with quite a baby boom in our own family, which just kept getting bigger. So as the family got bigger, we moved down the road to a 4-bedroomed house, number 10 Bircham Street. Another 2-storey house, but it had a balcony and it was right next to the park. As the eldest boy, I was lucky enough to be the only child who had my own bedroom, right at the top of the stairs. So off we went to school, and it was the nuns of St. Michael's who gave us our early education. I was a foundation pupil the day this school started, and the lessons learnt there lasted a lifetime. March 1953, it must have been one of my mother's proudest moments, because her 8-year-old eldest son, me, was chosen as one of the altar boys to lead Archbishop McKeefery up the driveway to officially open the brand new St. Michael's School. And there I was. Those Irish nuns taught us well, and many years later I was proud to make a film telling their story and to show it at their headquarters in Cork, Ireland. But their biggest influence on me was to teach me music, giving me a gift to last a lifetime. So off I went to St. Bernard's College, where I got a major role in a Shakespearean play, as Gobbo the Clown. I was just good enough to make the cricket first 11 and the rugby first 15. But once the 60s arrived, all I really wanted to do was play the guitar in a rock and roll band. Ladies and gentlemen, the Twilighters.
Many times I saw her here and there. Little did I think she'd ever care.
Being in a band was great fun, and it got me my first girlfriend, which naturally inspired me to write a song about her. We recorded that in 1964, and it launched my career as a regular songwriter. I said regular, not frequent, once every 25 years.
We are the engineers. We can demolish 40 beers.
In 1964, I turned up here at the University of Canterbury School of Engineering. We had our first lecture in what was then world-famous mushroom. Rather sadly, the mushroom fell down in the Canterbury earthquakes, which doesn't say much about the state of civil engineering, does it? Fortunately, I was an electrical engineer.
Oh, we are the engine, rat-a-tat-tat-ta. We can demolish.
I settled in with the other Catholic boys at Rochester Hall. We had a lot of student fun, and we made many lifelong friends who keep in touch to this day. I took 6 years to complete the 4-year engineering degree, but that was because I took extra subjects like Motorcycling 101, float building 203 and beer drinking with honours, mostly at our local Carlton Hotel. In between, there was rugby to play with the Carlton All-Stars, winter trips to the ski fields, fancy balls at the Winter Garden with the girls of Rosary House, and we drew a huge crowd to Cathedral Square, where the Beatles were tried and their unlawful hairstyles removed. In between was an awful lot of guitar playing, which continued through the summer holidays, when we went to warmer places like New Plymouth, Waiheke Island and the fabulous Mount Maunganui.
Oh, I do like to be beside the seaside. I do like to be beside the sea. I do like to be upon the from, where the brass band plays fiddly-on.
But eventually I did graduate in 1969 and was sent off to be the assistant telecom engineer for Gisborne and the whole East Coast, but not before marrying Jackie and producing our first child, Sarah. That 2 years in Gisborne changed me from a student to a practical engineer, ready to take on the world. Almost. First, we came back to Stokes Valley for a year and produced our second child, Matthew. Sarah came along to check out her new brother and wasn't very impressed.
Northern Star, 25,000-ton passenger liner and sister ship to the famous Southern Cross, to carry over 1,400 passengers and a crew of nearly 500 round the world in comfort and safety.
In 1972, we all embarked on the Northern Star for a 6-week sea journey. I had been awarded a scholarship to do engineering in Britain for a couple of years, and we sailed from Wellington to our first exotic port, Lyttelton. But it was a wonderful trip, like being in a first-class hotel, with fun in the cabin, fun on the deck, and I even won the on-board table tennis competition. We had time in Tahiti, Acapulco, Barbados and other places along the way before arriving in Cardiff on Christmas Eve. 25 years later, I went back again.
This place looks familiar.
This does look familiar.
Doesn't this look familiar? Should we try in here?
Number 38. Well, I never. This is 38 Heel, Fin and Wen. In 1972, Jackie, me, Sarah and Matthew lived here for a couple of years. And in 73, John and Massini came and stayed for a while too. It looks exactly the same, and I remember it very fondly. Christmas Day, 1974, as we cooked the Christmas dinner, the dunny blocked, and as we looked out the back window, we saw 3 shits go sailing by on Christmas Day, on Christmas Day.
That was a terrific 2 years in Wales. I saw plenty of rugby, including the famous Barbarians try at Cardiff Arms Park.
John Dawes, great dummy, brilliant by Quinnell. This is Gareth Edwards, a dramatic start. What a score!
And my Welsh workmates presented me with a special tie to celebrate when the All Blacks were beaten by their club Llanelli. Matthew grew from a baby to a toddler, and Sarah developed a love of horses and a cute Welsh accent. I bought a grunty Ford Capri, and in the summer towed a caravan around England, Scotland and Wales, enjoying the British scenery, British history and British beaches. Later that year, we got a bonus Christmas hamper from the Sunday Times Christmas Limerick competition. You had to write a limerick involving the Guinness Book of Records, and I got second prize with, "For Christmas I sent my Aunt Guinness, that fine book of records by Guinness." In answer, she sent me a wondrous new entry, the world's longest limerick last line, which despite being of undeniably record length, was disqualified on grounds of failure to rhyme. The next year, we towed our caravan around Europe, all on the wrong side of the road. I wouldn't do that now. We learned a few foreign phrases along the way, mostly like "de vin rouge, s'il vous plaît," and the children played together, whatever the language. There was a hiccup when the Capri broke down in Munich, and as the German mechanics examined it, they seemed to be saying "Das ist kaputt" a lot. But we got back to Wales, and in our time there met some wonderful people, including my future wife, though I didn't know that at the time. We were very sad to leave, but eventually shipped the Capri back to New Zealand and left to fly home. Our journey back included a road trip from San Francisco to Los Angeles via Yosemite National Park, Death Valley and Las Vegas. We arrived home just in time for Matthew's second birthday and a reunion with the grandparents. And so we brought our quadraphonic sound system and Pink Floyd albums back to Stokes Valley. Sarah went off to school and Matthew starred in a front page story in the Evening Post. In the meantime, I put into practice the engineering learned in Britain and became the post office poster boy as we implemented new cable technology. I never got much of those millions though. But it wasn't all fun in the late 70s. Work pressure, bad choices and a marriage breakup threw me into chronic anxiety and crippling panic attacks.
The lunatic is in my head.
I ended up in the infamous King Seat Mental Hospital, where I found out a lot about myself and the world. There was some unconventional therapy, and my fellow inmates liked to ham it up a bit, but 6 months later they presented me with my diploma of sanity, and I went back to Wellington, ready to face the world again, but not as an engineer.
You rearrange me till I'm sane. You lock the door and throw away
I came out of King Seat deciding to use the other half of my brain, so went off to Polytech for a year to learn photography in its many varied forms. That included turning a caravan into a mobile darkroom and taking it to hippie music festivals. It was at Polytech I was seduced by the flickering lights of the audiovisual media, and I've been hooked ever since. My very first film was called Barrier Free. It used a Pink Floyd soundtrack, and my family as cheap talent. After a year as a student, I needed a job, a proper job, and I was fortunate enough to get one here at the brand new Wellington School of Medicine. 2 years here gave me a great appreciation of the power of video, and that set me off on my course of documentary filmmaking about real people doing real things and sometimes having to struggle.
Oh, doctor, I'm in trouble.
Well, goodness gracious me.
Filming surgical operations wasn't my favourite part of the job, though I certainly learnt a bit. The AV team and I made many fascinating films about everything from premature babies arriving too soon to hospice patients departing too soon, and we put a film about colostomies in the bag.
Thanks to an ostomy.
In particular, with sex educator Dame Margaret Sparrow, I learned more than I needed to know about venereal disease. We called one film Chlamydia is Not a Flower, and the funky theme song for another was performed by the well-known Cats Away group with Jackie Clark. I did some pretty advanced computer graphics for this one, mostly designed to scare young people off sex. It scared me too. After a couple of years, I left the medical school and set up Capcom, Capital Communications, and have been making documentary films ever since. We had a 6,000 square foot studio in Miramar, and through the 80s made dozens of films for the health department, education department, high-tech companies and tourist operators. It took us up and down the country from the mountains to the sea, filming stories in high-security prisons and psychiatric hospitals, even taking a cruise out from Sydney and back, and getting to know all sorts of interesting people.
Much more than just home
Big impact on today's business world and the Belgian way.
I'm the Wizard of Christchurch.
It was all a lot of fun, hard work, but very rewarding. Then, for a film about babies called The Biggest Love, I wrote another song, 25 years after Lorraine. But this time, someone else sung it. The great Bunny Walters with Beaver Morrison.
Every face a new friend, every smile a sweet hello. Every minute something learned, there's so much I want to know. You've got my love and total trust, so keep me safe from harm. Nurture me so carefully, the future's in your arms.
My own future changed greatly soon after this. I made a documentary with John Gordon telling the remarkable story of Safe Air and ended up owning an Argosy.
The Argosies were to be sold for scrap, except for this one.
I got on the phone, rang the general manager of Safe Air at the time and said, how much are they giving? How much is the scrap dealer giving you to cut them up? And he told me. So I said, well, we'll give you the same not to cut them up. He thought for a second and said, well, okay, as long as you get them out of here.
The solution was to move it to his house in Blenheim and park it on the front lawn. Paul soon met wife-to-be Sheila and discovered his best pickup line.
I certainly promised that she could have a nice ornament and a unique ornament in her front garden, and I think I've done that too.
I don't know about him being a little bit eccentric. I think he's a big bit eccentric.
And so, we fixed the roof of our Wellington home, packed everything into a container and crossed the strait for a new life in Marlborough. We bought a property out at Woodburn and then moved house, literally. We built a new cafe and made a small fortune in hospitality. Unfortunately, we had started with a bigger fortune. Then Sheila and I got married, and she promised to love, honour and obey. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, is it? Then came my infamous 15 minutes of fame on the other side of the camera.
Our second contestant tonight is a video producer who enjoys table tennis, travelling and playing the guitar. From Wellington, please welcome Paul Davidson.
Paul, good to have you here tonight.
Wow, you're restoring an aeroplane, I believe.
Yes, well, a couple of friends and myself, we've rescued the last Argosy from the scrap heap. That's the Argosy, is the Safe Air aircraft that used to fly up and down the country. There's not many of them left in the world, and it keeps us busy with restoring, preserving, and hopefully for a display some stage.
Oh, good luck with that, Paul. Out of the game.
Thank you.
Who am I? I was Paul.
Steve Parr.
I've been waiting 599 episodes for that.
Sorry.
Finally, it's come. We have our champion. Paul has done it. Paul has done it again. Paul has done it. Atom, we have our champion. Paul has done it again. We have our champion. Paul has done it again. We have our champion. Paul has done it. Oh, what a round.
Here's Paul Davidson from Wellington, tonight with a win in $43. He could drive away in a stunning Mitsubishi Galant liftback automatic, valued at $32,632.
Riding with Dapper, what is a military engineer? Paul?
Sapper.
Yes. What nationality was composer Maurice Ravel? Donna?
French.
Yes. A type of clothes fastener is a hook and what? Peter?
Fastener.
Hook and eye. We have our champion by $1. It is Peter. $1 in it. Peter, 80. Paul, 79. Paul, thank you very much for being with us. What, 5 nights this week and 2 nights last week?
Yeah.
$1 in it, Paul. It's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you.
You'll go home with the electronic board game.
So there it was, $1 short from winning it all. But I got over it. Then came the Davidson Brothers World Tour, following the '97 All Blacks. Things had changed since I was last in Britain, but it was still a memorable few weeks.
Oh, here we are on a lovely London, beautiful morning. Watch this. And we're sitting on top of a double-decker bus because Paul insisted. We've seen lovely sights. Oh, God, it's cold.
Having a good time, boy?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good.
This is St. Paul's Cathedral, and I'm feeling quite pleased with myself because St. Paul's is definitely a lot bigger than St. John's, and we haven't even been able to find St. Gary's. So we're just off inside to have a look, but it is really grand.
And so, to the 21st century and our new life in Marlborough. We enjoy the wine, the sounds and the scenery. We have got to know the community, and we even feel like locals now. I especially enjoy my volunteer work for the Marlborough Museum, where I still serve as president, and felt particularly honoured when they named the new audiovisual theatre there. Sheila and I have had many trips back to Britain to catch up with her family. My own children grew up and left, Matthew to become an engineer and Sarah an accomplished equestrian. We are now both proud grandparents, and the great cycle of life rolls on. My film work continued with some great projects, mostly in other places, even other countries. I went off to university in Brisbane for a while and made some fine films over there with some fine people.
And about scale, and about memory, and about echo.
That building remains an art studio today, though now it's in these beautiful surrounds at Brisbane Botanic Gardens.
I even tried my hand on some traditional Australian instruments. I came back home with a master's degree in media and a doctorate in visual arts, but not before another role in front of the camera as a magician. Doing that doctorate both celebrated and improved my filmmaking. For me, making films about real people doing real things is just the perfect combination of art and technology. And 45 years of doing it has been a real pleasure and a privilege. I've got to know many great people, gone to many great places and told many great stories. And looking back at the hundreds of films I've made in that time, I reckon some of those are pretty good too. I couldn't have done any of it without the help of a whole lot of people and the support of my dear wife Sheila, who is both my strongest supporter and my harshest critic. And finally, after several years filming the Whales and Whalers of Cook Strait, I came up with my third song in 50 years, and the great Midge Marston sang it for me.
The whale and me, we met at sea. I chased you through the strait. My aim was true and sent you to your Whakanui fate. What's done is done. I fired my gun for crew and skipper loyal, but it was wrong to kill your song for 30 drums of oil. Singing whale ho, there she blows, just me straight, you met your fate, but we don't do that no more.
So, every one of you, family, friend or work colleague, has contributed something to my life story, and I'm proud to have shared it with you. I'm looking forward to adding another chapter in 10 years' time. I'll see you all then. Cheers.